What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Ready for the NBA season to get started?
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
2 more days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get started with our playoff predictions here. Who wants to start it off for the 10th seed?
This is Western or Eastern Conference?
Let's go East first.
East. Okay, I can start. 10th, I have the Atlanta Hawks. I think they'll do better this year than last year, but not tremendously better. So 10th, I think, is their ceiling. But Trae Young, he's gonna be, he's gonna do what he does every year. They got Capella still, and Johnson seems to be a rising star for that team. Also the rookie, the first round pick. So yeah, they got guys that can produce. Dyson Daniels as well. So I have them 10th. Number 9, I have the Bulls. I really like their rookie, Montes Buzelis. He seems to be a stud already. Also Lonzo back for them. So I think they'll do a lot better this year than last year. Number 8, I have the Pacers. I know this is a little lower for the Pacers than usual, but I just see a regression for them this year. And then number 7, Miami Heat. Heat always find a way to make the playoffs, so I think they'll have home court advantage for the play-in and get in there. 6, I have the Sixers because Joel Embiid's saying that he's not going to play in the back-to-backs. I don't know if he doesn't play. I don't know how many of those they can actually win. So Sixers are 6th. Number 5, I have the Cavs. Basically, they had kept the same team as last year, so the chemistry will be there for them. And then number 4, the Magic. I think they'll definitely build on last season. Paolo Banchero, he's a rising star, and the guys around him are solid role players at the least. So I think I'll have them at 4th. And then number 3, the Bucks. The Bucks, I think, finished 3rd last year. They weren't that great, I think, to start the season, but with Chris Middleton back now, probably going to play more games this year than last. So I have them sticking at 3rd. 2nd, I have the Knicks with Towns' addition. They lost some depth, but I think Towns fits the mold better. And I don't see Brunson regressing at all. So Knicks stay 2nd. And then number 1, the Celtics. They stayed the same as last year. They have the chemistry, and I don't see anybody taking them off that 1st seed yet.
Nice.
Yeah, and right now we're sharing what the standings ended up as last year. So you can kind of compare that.
Who wants to go next?
I can go for it. At number 10, I had the Hornets. Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. Love that combination. It's just they're bringing in the new coaching staff. It's going to take a while to get adjusted. I'm not sure. It could go great. It could be maybe they even make themselves out of the play-in. It could go terribly, not even make the play-in. But I put them here at number 10. Number 9, I went with the Pistons. I'm expecting a jump from the Pistons here. We'll talk about it a little bit later when I talk about Cade Cunningham, but he's one of the players who I have on there for most improved, and I think that him taking that huge jump is going to put the Pistons, get them into their chance at the play-in here, unlike last year and the year before when it seemed like 2 or 3 games into the season, they're already not even trying to make the playoffs anymore. I think that throughout the year, then this will be the year that they actually get themselves into the playoffs. Number 8, I have the Magic. A little bit lower than people expected, maybe. I didn't like the way that they attacked for agency. I felt like they could have gone harder after Klay Thompson. Maybe somebody else to bring in a better shooter, but they did what they did, and I have them down there at 8. It's not necessarily a huge knock on them. It's just that I just felt like they could have improved, and I can't put everybody up there. 7, I have Cleveland. Not much improvement over the offseason. That was my reasoning for keeping them down there. Number 6, I have the Pacers. I love the Pacers. I wish I could have put them higher. It's just that these next 5 teams above them are all so veteran and so just I don't see them being able to make that jump to being able to. Are we better than the Bucks? No. Are they better than Miami? I don't think so. They might have gotten farther than them in the playoffs last year, but overall regular season, I think the Pacers end up as that 6th seed. I got the Bucks at number 5, falling down a little bit. Didn't like what they did in the playoffs last year. Didn't like the energy that they brought. We'll see if they could turn things around here, but for now, I have them at 5. 4, I've got the Heat. You know the Heat are always going to be around. I've heard a lot of talk about Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra getting together and trying to realize about how they need each other, and that's huge. If those two can realize and get on the same page throughout a whole season, if Jimmy Butler can play even close to a whole season, they'll have a lot more wins than they usually do. And we'll get Miami up there at 4. The next 3, can put these in really any order. It's just going to depend on who stays the healthiest and who wants to get that 1 seed the most and who's more interested in resting their guys for the playoffs. We saw what happened with the Mavericks last year. Luka was drained by the time the championship came around. They don't want that to happen again. Other teams can see that that's happening to these veterans. So maybe Philly doesn't have Joel Embiid go full on to get his MVP back that he probably thinks he should have 2 of them or 3 or 4, whatever he should have by now. He has 1. He thinks or if they want to try to get him a second one, he'll have to play a lot. But I think they're more interested in getting themselves a championship. So I thought Philly down at 3. I put Boston at 2. A lot of people have them at 1, but after the move New York made to get Karl Anthony Towns, I just think this team is just built for the playoffs and built for the regular season. I have the Knicks, not just number 1 in the East, but my number 1 overall team in general.
Let's go.
There.
Yes. More confidence than me.
Yeah. That's a good thing, though. You don't have too much confidence in your team, but not too little. You want to be right there in the middle.
We'll see. I always seem to get let down by my team, so, at least in very recent history, it's not like a ton of success comes my way, usually.
You want to go next, George?
Yeah, I'll take it. At number 10, I also have the Atlanta Hawks coming in at 10. I really like their young trio of Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, and Jalen Johnson. That trio is really impressive. I still have a few question marks about the rest of that squad that they're putting around them. Clint Capella can kind of keep up on the offensive side with the rest of the bigs in the East. He's solid defensively. Don't really know where else they're going to get a ton of the scoring from other than those 3, though. I like Dyson Daniels. I like what he can bring to the table, but he's still very young, young and unproven to that matter. Bogdanovich coming off the bench can provide some, instant shooting, but not much beyond that. And I mean, I understand they had the number 1 overall pick last season. I'm really interested to see what kind of role he has off the bench because I don't see a real route to him starting much, and that's in Zachary Rice-Soccer. I don't know where they're going to get a lot of starting minutes for him. I just don't see that. Number 9, I've got someone that hasn't been brought up yet in the Toronto Raptors. I really like some of the moves the Raptors have made. I'm very interested to see how a second full season under Darko Rajakovic is coming in. I think he's a really smart coach, a really good offensive mind. And this is going to be the first full season for them with both Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett in that, starting 5. Love Scotty Barnes, by the way. Scotty Barnes, to me, is one of the best young forwards in the NBA. I mean, he's fantastic. If they can stay healthy as well, I mean, Jacob Poeltl has been a pretty consistent force on both ends of the floor for them when he plays. It seems like he's always missing at least 15 games a year. and that's pretty counterproductive for a team that's not super deep, but really relies on having a big, on the floor. At number 8, my 6, 7, and 8, 5, 6, 7, and 8 probably could kind of come in any order for me. I just have them as I have them right now. I've got the Miami Heat at 8. For me, their X factor is Eric Spoelstra. I mean, he seems to always be able to get the absolute most out of whatever roster he has. It seems like it doesn't always matter that, I don't have this star, I don't have that star. I've got kind of a lot of role players, but he always seems to maximize what they've got. They've got to get starting 5. I want to see a lot more of Nikola Jovic this year. Terry Rozier coming in. They've got a really good supporting cast. I love Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kevin Love whenever he comes back and is healthy. Alec Burks coming in can also provide a little bit of a spark off the bench. I'm interested to see what Miami ends up doing, but for now, because there are still a couple question marks, like can Adebayo stay healthy? Can Adebayo stay on the floor? With Rozier, how is he going to fit? How is he going to fit in with the rest of this team since he's coming in from free agency from Charlotte? There are going to be a couple moving pieces there. At 7, I've got the Cavs. I like this Cavaliers core. I really do. But it's been how many years now that they've been together and they really haven't been able to get over the hump in a sense, especially in the playoffs. It feels like they're in a way in kind of a rut. They've had it's been Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen, Isaac Okoro, the same cast of characters now for the last, handful of seasons. And it just feels like, sure, we have a ceiling, but that ceiling doesn't really get us that far into the playoffs. And it's at some point it's going to come back to bite them in the regular season as well and force them into a play-in situation. At 6, I've got the Magic. And for me, the Magic, in a way, ended up being the benefactors of the Nuggets not being able to pay everybody. And that's them picking up Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a huge piece on that championship run for the Nuggets. For me, he just adds a veteran aspect to what's already a really solid young team. Jalen Suggs is great. The Wagner brothers are awesome. Paolo Banchero is a stud. I was able to luckily see him in person last season. He's incredible. Like, he just does some things that you're like, okay, he's way too big to be doing all that. There's no way he should be able to do that. But he can. Caldwell Pope adds a lot of scoring, a lot of shooting that the team felt like it was kind of missing. And then I like seeing Jonathan Isaac and Cole Anthony, former first-round picks from the team from when they were still really down and out, kind of manning the bench there. At 5, I have the Pacers. They're just over the play-in. They're running back a lot of the same team, which is fine from a team that was a conference semifinalist last season. I still love Halliburton. I think he's still one of the premier ball handlers in the NBA. Primary, points. Miles Turner can still, shoot the lights out every now and again. Pascal Siakam, still your Swiss Army knife, can really do it all. McConnell is just off the bench. He's kind of the perfect off the bench point guard that you want. He's just a pest. He gets on everybody's nerves. No one likes watching him just go up and down the floor, bothering everybody. They're still just a pretty well-rounded squad. I mean, they went far last season. Could they take a bit of a step back? Maybe. They'll probably be around the same-ish record that they had last season. Whether that, translates to the playoffs again, well, that's, yet to be seen. At 4, I've got the Sixers. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step forward. I didn't know that about Joel Embiid potentially taking off the second half, or half of all the back-to-back games, and that's a little disappointing to me because it really felt like coming into this into the season during the off season, it looked like he slimmed down a little bit, was taking really good care of himself over the summer, and I think the Olympics actually had a lot to do with that. Making sure that he was staying in playing shape for the majority of the offseason. But we're also talking about a team where Tyrese Maxey was the most improved player last season. He was exceptional. I expect him to continue to grow into his role. They bring in Paul George. One of the interesting pieces for me is actually goes back to the Olympics, and that's with Yabusele, who was phenomenal for the French national team. If he can keep up that type of play in the NBA, they might have found a legit, diamond in the rough type player, out of seemingly nowhere. Keeping in mind he hasn't played a regular or postseason NBA game since 2019, but coming off the bench with minutes behind a pretty stout, starting five, I think that's a pretty good spot for him. But that is a little disappointing to hear about Embiid. I had him as my potential MVP pick. I thought going into the season he had a level of like he was rejuvenated. It seemed like he was really focused coming into this season. And now, okay, well, I don't want to play, half of my back-to-backs. Well, you probably then won't play enough games to win MVP. Will that potentially add to, your playoff performance? Sure. But, after all the chatter that we've heard from you about MVPs and what do you think about Jokic? Just saying, it's a little interesting. At 3, I've got the Bucks. For me, I mean, it's year 2 of Damian Lillard and Giannis did this experiment. It's the first full season with Doc Rivers at the helm. Do with that what you will. I will always contend that he is purely a regular season coach. That's it. I love, their starting 5 rounded out with Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, and Taurean Prince are rock solid secondary pieces to come off that bench. They're a veteran squad, veteran coach. They've been here before. I don't expect them to really go a whole lot of places. At 2, I've got my Knicks. I think even talent-wise, they were arguably the second best team, even going through the playoffs last season before they got hit with injuries. Mitchell Robinson is going to be out until January, which I think it really hampers the depth of that team. But they've added Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges. They were able to keep OG Anunoby. It's a starting 5 that can really compete with any team in the NBA. Depth, I don't love the depth after losing DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, but they've still got some nice pieces in Deuce McBride, Campaign, and Precious Achiuwa. And, of course, number 1, I have, sadly, the Boston Celtics. It's almost hard not to pick them to repeat kind of where they were. It's pretty much the same team. The only difference is now Al Horford is going to end up starting a bunch of these games earlier on in the season while Kristaps recovers from his foot injury. But it's Al Horford. I mean, it's not like we're talking about some, either rookie fresh out of college or somebody who can't really handle an NBA workload.
Yeah, that was some great analysis there, George. I'm just gonna go with some quick hits, based on feeling here. For number 10, I'm agreeing with Justin here with the Charlotte Hornets. I like Brandon Miller, and hopefully LaMelo Ball can stay healthy this time. I mean, we'll see. That's the big question mark there. Number 9. Chicago Bulls, like Levon said, I'm rooting for Lonzo Ball. Being a former Laker, I want to see him healthy this year, and if he can, he'll have an impact. But again, another big if he can stay healthy, because he hasn't for the last few years. Number 8, I'm gonna go Indiana Pacers. I think they slide down a little bit. They had that great run last year, but in the playoffs, it honestly, it took some luck. They got some breaks with injuries. So I think they slide down a little bit. Number 7, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat. I know Spoelstra's a great coach. Jimmy Butler's had some trouble staying healthy lately. Still a solid team. Still a team that can make a run in the playoffs like they usually do. So we'll see about that. Number 6, I'm going with Philly. You know, I know everyone's concerned about Embiid not playing the back-to-backs, and that is a big deal. But I think they're still a strong team you got to contend with. But they will take some losses in the regular season without Embiid, playing the full games like he usually doesn't. Number 5, I'm gonna go with Cleveland. Like George said, they have a great young core. In the playoffs, it has gotten stale, but keeping that core together, I think will be good for them in the regular season. Not so much in the playoffs, maybe. And let's see, number 4, I'm gonna go with Orlando because that young core is so good, and like George said, adding KCP. As a Lakers fan, I know what KCP can do for a team. He was huge for Denver in those playoff runs. I think Denver's going to really miss him, just like the Lakers did. And top 3, you got to go with the 3 everyone else is picking, the Bucks at 3. Everyone was a lot more excited for the Bucks last year, adding Damian Lillard, but it didn't really translate the way they wanted to. Maybe another year there might help them get some more wins in the regular season. I don't see them, pushing Boston in the playoffs though, or one of these other top teams. And number 2, the Knicks. The Knicks, adding Towns. They had that great run that just got derailed by injuries, and they're a tough team, and they'll do well. And I hate to say it, but Boston Celtics number 1. Hate the Celtics, but hey, they proved they're champions last year, bringing back the same core. So you got to give it to the champs. Yeah.
They don't even like each other.
Getting bad locker room vibes from them. You're like, I don't see it. Jaylen Brown, Tatum, just seem like they don't seem like good dudes to each other. Just try to sow that seed for them. Just put that out in the world.
It's already there. Jaylen Brown didn't make the Olympic team. And then Jason Tatum didn't even play.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
To be fair, it looked like most of that run, they didn't really need a whole lot. They just were like, hey, Steph, shoot this from, Germany if you want. I'm still going to make it.
I was talking about the next Olympics coming up, and when they're coming here to LA, France has gotten second place the last 2 times, and it's going to be a big battle for the gold again. France is going to be having all these dudes that just got drafted in the first round. They've got a couple more coming next year in the first round.
Yeah, they look primed. They look really good. I mean, to be fair, do we actually expect some of the guys who played this past year to really be big? Like, I don't know about Gobert still being on the team, even though. How old is he now? Is he like 33?
Early 30s, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, by the time the next Olympics roll around, he'll be late 30s. And I don't know. I don't know that he takes care of himself quite like LeBron does, where he's going to be playing until he's 45,
Yeah, and even in Olympics, they're not going to be like throwing him and Wembanyama out there the whole entire time together. So maybe they just need him for a couple minutes in 2028. Gobert.
Yeah, maybe. He'd be a bit of a stopper, where he can be, just be a big body.
Yeah,
Yeah, there were a couple other rookies that, French rookies that didn't get as much talk that have looked really, really good in preseason.
Yeah, and Wemby is going to be a force in the next Olympics.
He's going to be a force this year.
Yeah.
Already brought him to the silver medal this year. And I'm like, geez, man.
That dude's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should we get started with the West?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. This one was pretty tough for me. Like I have a couple of teams just outside of that bubble. Houston, San Antonio. I think Chris Paul makes Wembanyama a lot better this year. Like I could see him averaging 25 and 15. To be honest, I mean, like he's gonna really take that this year. So number 10, I have Golden State. I just don't see Curry missing the play-in. He'll will his team in one way or the other. Similar to the Lakers, I have at number 9. I just don't see LeBron and AD missing the play-in. I could see them possibly making the playoffs through the play-in, but it's going to be difficult with the other teams in the West currently. It's just a stacked conference. Number 8, I'm going to take the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they got a lot better this year, obviously, with Ja coming back. I know that Jaren Jackson Jr. is still out, but Zach Edey is going to be a force in the paint. And Desmond Bain, I think he'll only get better from last year. So I have them at 8th. Number 7, I'm going to take the Pelicans. I know some people are a little higher on the Pelicans, but they added DeJounte Murray. I just don't trust Zion Williamson in terms of health. He's always hurt. And if he can't stay healthy, I don't see them being comfortably in the playoffs. So that's why I have them at 7. Number 6, I have Phoenix. The big 3 still there: KD, Beal, and Booker. They added some rookies, but they didn't improve much in the offseason. And I don't see them. I think this is their ceiling. So 6 Suns. Number 5, I have the Kings. I'm a huge fan of De'Aaron Fox. I think he's only going to get better this year. But also the addition of DeMar DeRozan, I think, was big for them. Sabonis is still a force in the paint, and Keegan Murray seems to be getting better. He looked better in the preseason, but I think that DeRozan addition is going to be big for the team itself. Number 4, I have Dallas. I think with the addition of Clay and some of the shooters like Najee Marshall, they got better. But in terms of like advancing in the playoffs, I think it'll be easier for them this year. Like get in 5 games, first round, second round, possibly 2, and then Western Conference Finals. We'll see what the matchup is like. But in terms of just getting shooters, they got better. Like last year, you had Derek Jones Jr., who was missing open corner threes. This year, you have shooters that can hit those open shots. Number 3, I have the Nuggets. They added Russell Westbrook. I think that was a big addition for their bench. And I don't see any regression there. I could also see Julian Strawther possibly starting sooner than later, like instead of Christian Braun or Michael Porter Jr. And then I'm a little bit higher on the Timberwolves than most. I think I have them at number 2. I'm a big Julius Randle fan. I think this trade was really good for them. They added depth with DiVincenzo as well. And also the rookies that they got, Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr., they're really good players. Naz Reid, I really want to see Naz Reid and Randle on the court at the same time. And I think we'll see that more this year. And then Anthony Edwards is just going to get better. So I got Timberwolves at number 2. And then number 1, the Thunder. I don't see anybody dethroning them from number 1 this year. Jalen Williams, I think he got a lot better during the offseason. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, arguably top 3, if not top 2 in the league. And then they also added Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, so they added depth. Chet Holmgren is only going to get better. I think the Thunder are best positioned to finish number 1.
Yeah, definitely. Agree with you on Thunder there. For number 10, I went with the Kings. Have them dropping down a little bit. Adding in DeRozan for Harrison Barnes. I think that's not going to be as big of an upgrade as people think it is. If you look at the fourth quarter scoring last year, De'Aaron Fox, number 2 in the league in fourth quarter scoring, and then number 1 in the league is DeMar DeRozan. So they have all the fourth quarter scoring you can need, but there's only one basketball. So that's going to take a lot of getting used to, and it doesn't seem to me like the net positive of having all the extra fourth quarter scoring is going to be worth the negatives of what they're going to lose with Harrison Barnes being gone. Number 9, I have the Clippers. Another one because of losing players. Paul George is gone. They're opening up that new stadium, the Intuit Dome. Problem is, Kawhi Leonard is not into it. He is not going to be ready to go. Who knows? Indefinite. Sounds like him. He's going to play whenever he feels like playing, and that's Kawhi. So you can't have them high up in your regular season standings with losing Paul George and no Kawhi Leonard. Russell Westbrook went over to the Nuggets. There's so many things there. At number 8, I have the Pelicans. As you mentioned before, I don't trust Zion Williamson staying healthy, even with the new look he's got here. I like adding in DeJounte Murray, but it's going to take some work getting those two used to each other. And I don't even know if Murray is going to work out there or be there long term. So we'll see how that goes. Number 7, I have the Grizzlies. I really like the Grizzlies. I really want to put them up higher. It's just with everybody coming back, all the injuries from last year, they're adding in Edey, and I like the teams that are ahead of them a little bit more. So I have the Grizzlies down there at 7, which I had to do because I had to put my Lakers out of the play-in. We got to get out of the play-in this year, guys. It's got to happen. Get up to the 6th seed at least. I have this at the 6 right now. Dalton Connect, big addition to the team, but I think that the bigger additions are just the guys that are coming back who were there last year and hardly ever played. It still looks like Vanderbilt is still going to be out, but get Hachimura back like he was at the end of the year starting. Get D'Angelo Russell in a better mindset than he was last year. Playing under Darvin Ham, you can see that was not working out well for him. He didn't have a clear role. Darvin Ham would switch things up on him all the time on what he would want him to do, what he would not want him to do. His whole attitude towards D'Angelo Russell just seemed very like, do I even want you here? And JJ Redick has totally embraced him, totally changed that around, and that can be huge for the Lakers. D'Angelo Russell playing out of his mind was one of the huge reasons why Lakers went on the run they did 2 years ago to get into the playoffs. He was really good last year when they were trying to get into the playoffs. It's just he didn't have a great playoffs. Number 5, I have the Suns. It's hard to put them anywhere else. I didn't want to put them above the Nuggets because I don't like that. It seems like Jokic is probably going to start slowing down here soon. He can't have year after year after year after year of averaging these triple doubles, and everybody knows his head's not always basketball. He wants to go race his horses and things like that, but they're just so good. I can't see a way of the Suns finishing with more wins than the Nuggets during the regular season. So I have the Suns down there. Nuggets, though, I have them at 4. Because I wanted to put the Mavericks up at 3. I want to talk about the Mavericks a little bit. I love the addition of Klay Thompson. It's huge for what the Mavericks are going to need this year. It could have taken a lot of pressure off of Luka last year into the playoffs. The only reason I don't have the Mavericks up higher at 1 or 2 is, like I mentioned before, I think that they do need to bench Luka on some of the games on the back-to-backs. Maybe a quarter of the back-to-backs, a third of the back-to-backs, whatever you need to do. A lot of them towards the second half of the season, just get him ready so that way he's not wearing down in the playoffs. You got Klay as another ball handler. Obviously not what he used to be, but he's going to take so much pressure off of Luka, and hopefully during the regular season and in the playoffs keep Luka fresher for if they get another championship run. And then number 2, I really wanted to put the Wolves at 1, but I had to stick them at 2 because the Thunder are so good. But the Wolves, man, that move that they made trading away Karl Anthony Towns, people look at it on the surface, they're going to think that they got worse. But no, I do not think so at all. Bringing in Dante DiVincenzo to play next to not just Anthony Edwards, but next to Rob Dillingham, that's going to be huge. What was he going to say? Being able to play Naz Reid a lot more right next to Randall because you don't have Towns there anymore, that's going to be huge. Naz Reid was one of the I forgot I had the number here somewhere. I lost it. The amount of 3-pointers that he hit as a center, just insane. I wanted to put him at number 1, like I said, but I had to go with the Thunder. They're so good. Even with Hartenstein possibly being out to begin the season, that is just such a good team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is probably going to win the MVP. He's my pick. Giving it away a little bit. But Chet, Shea, you were talking about Jalen Williams earlier. Just they're set to be a number 1 team all the way. Probably they can run this thing from being the number 1 from day 1 to the end if they really wanted to, because they're that deep of a team, that young of a team. They don't need to be resting guys for the playoffs like Luka and some of these older teams. They have a clear path to that number 1.
Yeah, my Western Conference rankings. Now, this could just be because I don't watch as much Western Conference ball as you guys do. I know you guys are all Lakers fans. I'm in enemy territory at the moment and going forward. But mine, I think, are a little bit, could be a little bit shuffled. I'm also really high on, 2 teams that one didn't make the playoffs so far in any other list. And one that I'm a little more local to, so I do have a lot more, coverage of them. But at number 10, I have the Phoenix Suns as my 10 seed. To me, the Suns and the Nuggets are in a pretty similar situation in that they've got this amazing starting 5. They've got so much talent on the front end, but these rosters are so thin. I mean, if we're looking at just depth charts, for Phoenix, they don't even really have a second string of guys. They're like, okay, cool. Tyus Jones needs to take a break. Put Devin Booker at the 1. Okay, what about when Booker needs to take a break? Put Bradley Beal at the it's just reshuffling the starting 5 as their, secondary, lineup. It's tough to see how over the course of an 82-game season, one, that they can stay healthy. It's just not sustainable over the course of a season. But that level of talent it's so hard to bet against that amount of talent. At number 9, I really wish I could put them higher, but I just have so many question marks for me with the Lakers. I have the Lakers at 9. I really wanted to push them up higher. I love Anthony Davis. I love LeBron. Like Justin said, and I watch a lot of college ball. College ball is huge where I'm from in the country. I adore Dalton Connect. Oh man, as soon as they picked him up, I was so hyped. I was like, that is an awesome fit. Oh, wait a second. They have a new coach. I have no idea how this is going to go. I have no clue how they're, how the scheme is going to look, how they're going to play defensively. And I understand last season with Darvin Ham, things kind of, I don't want to say fell apart, but things didn't look so great at the end of the season, and going into the playoffs, things started to kind of come apart a little bit. The glue started to break, but I'm really interested to see how JJ Redick handles this. It's his first, real coaching experience is at the NBA level. And as much as I can appreciate the mind there, it'll be really interesting to me to see how he handles roster decisions, who plays, who doesn't, time on court, things like that are some of the nuances that I don't necessarily think a lot of people exactly look into. They just see JJ Redick and they're like, I know that name. He was on TV. That's a smart guy. He's going to be great at it. there's a little bit more that goes into it than just he's a really smart dude. At 8, I have the Pelicans. Zion Williamson has to stay healthy. Full stop. He has to stay healthy for this team to do much of anything. I love Herb Jones. I think he's one of the better defensive players in the NBA right now. He plays defense at such a high level. I think adding DeJounte Murray to kind of run, be that floor general, run that point is really going to be good for them. They made the play-in, last season, and I think they're going to be just around that same spot. Brandon Ingram should still be super productive with those guys around him, but if Williamson isn't healthy, there's a huge ceiling, and it's a tough ceiling to break with him not on the court. At 7, I've got the Kings. I think they're another playoff / play-in worthy team. They're right around that bubble. Sabonis is still a true two-way threat. I mean, he can do it all on both ends of the court. De'Aaron Fox is a great young point guard. My potential issue with DeMar DeRozan and that addition, and this is a little bit of what Justin was alluding to here, is obviously we love his mid-range shooting ability. That's the hallmark of his game, is just being able to produce in that mid-range, anywhere within the arc. He's a scoring threat, but he still struggles with the three ball. That's just not part of his game. As a secondary scoring piece behind De'Aaron Fox, probably even behind Sabonis, without that three ball, I think that really limits what this team can do offensively. At 6, which this might be a little bit high, this could be me projecting forward just a little bit, I have the Houston Rockets. This Rockets team reminds me of OKC from like 2 to 3 years ago, before we really started looking at it and saying, like, wait a second, they're building something real here. They've got a great coach in Ime Udoka. They have a ton of probably not fully developed yet talent, but we can really start to see where, with a little bit of polish, this team can compete at a super high level. I mean, Şengün was a monster when he was healthy last year. Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Reed Shepherd coming in, Amen Thompson. Like, these aren't just these are names. And then they still have a little bit of veteran talent with it. I love Fred VanVleet. Dylan Brooks is great. Steven Adams is one of the best leaders, that we see. It seems like everywhere he goes, his teammates and coaches rave about what he does in the locker room. I do think this might be me just projecting forward a little bit, but this roster looks like it's better than 500, where they were last year. At 5, I've got the Nuggets. They still have the same formula, but because of the cap concerns, because of, the upcoming new CBA and what that does to the cap, they've had to really cut back, and they've had to really make some tough decisions on, who's going to end up on this roster going forward. This is another one where, like the Suns, I really like the starting 5. I love what they'll be able to do on both ends of the court, but to be a true believer in what this team can do kind of over the course of the season, I'm going to see how they manage the bench and what the bench players are even able to do, when they're on the court. At 4, I've got the Grizzlies. Kind of in a sense, because the core and the coaching staff is exactly the same, almost, other than Steven Adams / Jonas Valanciunas, we already have kind of an idea of how good this Grizzlies team can be. I mean, shoot, not 2 years ago, this was at the 2 seed. This team was the 2 seed, not 2 years ago, and they have a lot of the same players, and a lot of them have been just, even though they haven't been on the court, they've still been around. They've been developing. I think Jaren is better than he was 2 years ago. He might be dealing with a mild hamstring issue to start the season, but he shouldn't miss any time. That's, just what I've heard. Ja Morant is back. It looks like his connection with rookie Zach Edey is going to be awesome. I mean, I'll be honest. When they picked Edey, I was like, man, I wish they were able to trade up yet. Donovan Clingan, by the way, for the Trailblazers. He's going to be a star. He is phenomenal. Edey has shown a little bit more touch in the preseason than I expected. I didn't expect him to have a hook shot like that. He put up what he put up the other night, like 23 and 10 or something like that. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect this out of old Zach Edey here, but we might be in for a surprise from him. But John Morant, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bain, Marcus Smart is truly a Swiss Army knife for this team as long as he doesn't randomly tear ligaments in his finger out of nowhere. And I really do think Zach Edey is going to have a really, really solid rookie season. At 3, I've got the Timberwolves. Justin, like you said, Levon, like you said, I don't think that this Cat trade was actually that bad for either team. I think it really was a very balanced trade. Both teams got better at what they really needed. Bringing in Randall and DiVincenzo to Minnesota, that just it to me, it really rounds out that roster. And one thing that it does, and this is more looking long term for that trade, with the money that they're able to shed in Karl-Anthony Towns, they're essentially picking their future. They're choosing Anthony Edwards for the future over Karl-Anthony Towns, and I just think it's the smart move. Clearly, he's showing himself to be one of the best young players in the NBA, and they're saying, we're riding with you. You're our guy. You're our franchise player. And then they've still got Rudy Gobert, who's been a defensive player of the year, too many times to count at this point. Reigning 6th man of the year, Naz Reid, who is an absolute monster. I just don't see how this team isn't successful next year. At 2, I've got Dallas. I have the Mavericks, in a way, taking a step, I don't want to say forward, because, they made the NBA Finals last season, but continuing that type of pace. It's a disappointing finish to the season, in the finals, but they added to a squad that was already good enough to get there. You've got Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. They add Klay Thompson, who adds some scoring and some veteran presence. And they've still got a really strong supporting cast behind them. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford showed out big time in the playoffs last season after, he was traded for at the deadline. Dinwiddie can still be productive off the bench. Maxi Kleber is great. This is still a pretty strong, well-rounded team. And Justin, I don't disagree. I think they do need to kind of possibly take back a little bit on Luka's workload, because you're right. He was worn down in the finals. Like, you could see it in how he was moving. He was just tired.
And before the finals started too, they were just going to send Brown at him, and they would send Tatum. They would send Brown, send Tatum, send whoever they wanted him. Send Holiday, then send Brown and send Tatum. It was just, they could send all these guys at Doncic, and it's just, he needs to be more fresh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do I think that could potentially limit the ceiling of this team should they decide to do that? Probably. But because they added a guy like Klay Thompson who can take a lot of that load off, even mid-game, not necessarily just for entire games, I think they'll be able to limit his kind of workload through like game-to-game basis by having extra scoring. And I think we might all be in agreement here. This Thunder team is ridiculous. It's just the depth, the youth. They've got everything going for them. SGA should be in the MVP race again, 100%. Chet Holmgren is a menace. Like, he's just catching bodies out there. He can shoot, he can dribble. It's ridiculous. Hartenstein is hurt. I'm hearing he's out potentially 5 to 6 weeks. I want to say they're either going to slot Holmgren in there. I want to say they also made a signing. Let me double check this. I think they made a free agent signing to shore up that spot. Where's OKC? They added Alex Reese, but I don't think that really makes a huge difference for that starting lineup. But Jalen Williams, and they added Caruso. It's so well-rounded. It's so deep. It's hard not to pick them at the 1 seed here.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some great picks, you guys. Number 10 for me, I'm going Golden State Warriors, staying where they're at there. We all know how great Steph is, but does he have enough pieces around him? Probably not. Number 9, going with Sacramento Kings. You know, they're a team that's always had some talent, but they're just not able to push to that next level there. You know, I love their core, but they definitely need to add to that. Number 8, I'm going with George here and saying that Houston is going to take a leap. Maybe I don't have as much faith as George and as a big of a leap, but I do like their young talent there and amazing coach. So I think they take a step up this year. Number 7, I'm going to say that the Phoenix Suns slide down a little bit. Again, because, you know, what George was talking about, great starting 5, not much depth after that. So and number 6, I'm gonna take a homer pick. I'm gonna go with Justin here and go the LA Lakers. You know, JJ Redick is the wild card here because, you know, Darvin Ham, he was a bad coach. You know, there's just no other way to put it. And I don't know what kind of coach JJ is going to be, but I'm gonna figure it's an improvement over Darvin Ham. And like you guys were saying, Dalton Connect is the real deal. Watching him score 20 points in a row, I know it was the preseason, but 6 threes and that comeback he led, like that's some Kobe stuff right there. And as a rookie, you know, and so he is going to be a huge factor for this Lakers team, you know. So I see that improvement with this team and keeping that core, you know, and like Justin said, getting Rui more minutes, like Ham didn't want to do, even though it took them to the Western Conference Finals. You know, giving D'Lo that confidence he needed, like we talked about it, because D'Lo can be huge too. And look, AD and LeBron in the Olympics were the 2 best players for the Olympic team. So, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to get this team going a little bit better than they were, and I think we do that. All right, at number 5, I'm going Dallas Mavericks. You know, I know they added Klay Thompson. I'm concerned with Klay. You know, he'll have nights where he goes 0 for 10, and it's like, you know, the injuries have sapped him of what he used to be with Golden State. So relying on Klay has me a little bit worried. There's still a lot of talent there. They do play Luka a lot, you know, and that's another concern. But I think they stay in that 5 seed. Number 4, I'm going with the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, they get Ja back, which is huge. You know, when he's healthy, he's an MVP level talent there. So him along with Zach Edey, you know, George knows all the additions better than I do, but I think this team really takes a step back, you know, back to where they used to be before Ja went out. And number 3, I'm going with the Denver Nuggets. They lost KCP. They're still going to be a team to contend with. I don't like the addition of Russell Westbrook. I don't think he's someone you can count on. You know, I think he's someone who will actually detract from your team, like the Lakers experienced. But I think this team is still good enough to be the number 3 seed, just with that championship level experience around them. But they do take a hit from what they were before, I feel like. And number 2, Minnesota Timberwolves. Like everyone said, I like the addition of Randall there. They're a tough team. The Ant-Man is another MVP level talent there. Um, I love their defense. And, I know Rudy had his struggles in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he won Defensive Player of the Year last year. So he can make an impact on the defensive end. There's still a young core there. So I think they stay in the number 2 seed, and you have to give it up to OKC for number 1. I mean, that young talent off the charts, adding Alex Caruso is huge for them. Parkinson, we discussed he's not going to be ready, but adding to that already super talented team, the sky is the limit for this team. Another MVP candidate. Well, I agree with Justin. I think he will be the MVP. Shea, yeah. I think we're all in agreement there.
Okay. Should we go to the awards?
Yeah.
For awards, this was between Shea and Luka for me. I'm going to take Luka because I think his overall minutes are going to see a little bit of a dip because they want to keep him fresh for the playoffs, like you guys have said. But the addition of these shooters, Clay, Najee Marshall, and a couple of others, I think it's going to boost his assist numbers. And he could be averaging a 30-point double-double at least. So, with the numbers plus the seeding, I think it makes sense for him to be the MVP this year. Depoy, I'm going to take Victor Wembanyama. He averaged 3.6 blocks last year. Probably going to do the same thing this year. And I don't see Rudy Gobert ousting him this time around. Most improved, Emmanuel Quickly. He averaged like 18, 6, and 4 with Toronto. I think he averages a lot better this year. So I don't see anybody else winning that award in terms of, because just his usage is going to be a lot heavy. And I could see him averaging 20, 23 points a game. Six man. This is assuming Dante DiVincenzo is a 6 man and not Naz Reid. So I'm going to take DiVincenzo as a 6 man. I just think that he gets starter minutes. I think he'll get more minutes than Mike Conley. So I'm going to take DiVincenzo as 6 man. And then Rookie of the Year, Zach Edey. It was between him and Klingon for me. But because Edey's for sure going to be a starter, I think he can average at least 13 and 7, which will be enough to win Rookie of the Year. And then Coach of the Year, Taylor Jenkins. The Grizzlies had 27 wins, and they're going to get I would say over 50 this year. I think he'll win Coach of the Year.
All right. So for MVP, I got Shea. I think that because Jokic and Doncic are going to be load managing themselves a little bit during the regular season this year and keep themselves fresh for the playoffs. Time for Shea to step up and claim his throne as the MVP. He had a good case last year. I think he also has the third best odds on DraftKings. So you add all those together, and plus they got rid of Josh Giddey, get the ball into his hands a little bit more. Put all those things together, and I think that adds up to a Shea MVP season. Defensive Player of the Year, obvious choice, Wemby. But I went with, in case something happens to him, maybe he gets injured. I went with going with Rudy Gobert again. With Cat gone, he'll have more on his plate defensively. He was just the Defensive Player of the Year last year. So if for some reason Wemby doesn't win it, which he's the biggest favorite I've seen for that award in forever, I would give it to Gobert. For Rookie of the Year, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'm going a little bit off the beaten path here, and I'm going with Rob Dillingham. At first glance, he's not really highly thought of as a Rookie of the Year candidate. He's I think he's 9th or 10th on DraftKings for if you want to bet on who you think is going to be the Rookie of the Year. But he is just like a microwave scorer. He's Russell Westbrook light. Put him on the bench, put him as a starter. Either way, he's already won the Sixth Man of the Year award before. So he's already prepared for that type of role, if that's the role you want to give him. So any role you're going to throw at him, he's going to be ready for. He's going to be able to score, and he's going to be on a high-profile team. So let's go with Rob Dillingham as the Rookie of the Year. Most improved player. I went with Cade Cunningham here. If people who watch a lot of basketball probably don't think that there isn't a lot of room for improvement for Cade Cunningham, but this is an award for a lot of people who usually kind of don't watch a lot of basketball and didn't see that he was already a good player last year. And they're probably thrown off by the fact that they weren't a good team and they weren't chasing the playoffs. And I think that things are going to change this year. Like I said, I have them as a playoff team in the play-in. So with them chasing a playoff spot, being a better team, and him actually playing a full complement of games, let's give the most improved player to Cade Cunningham. And Sixth Man of the Year. I think this one was kind of easy to me. I'm going with Buddy Hield. If he comes off the bench in Golden State, which I think he will, he might have to starting throughout the year if there's injuries or ineffectiveness to their younger guards. But if Buddy Hield stays the Sixth Man of the Year all year long in Steve Kerr's system, I think that's an easy pick for Sixth Man of the Year. Give it to Buddy right now. Coach of the Year, you already took mine there. Taylor Jenkins, I think he is set up so nicely to be the Coach of the Year, getting all of his players back, getting Edie back, plus the fact that he's already a really good coach. He might have gotten either won the award, or did he get screwed out of the award a couple years ago? I think he should have won, and he didn't.
I think he was a finalist. I'll double check, but I think he was a finalist when they were the 2 seed.
So that makes it even more likely. If he was a finalist before, this is the year. Give it to Taylor Jenkins, Coach of the Year.
Yeah. No, he wasn't even a finalist when they were the 2 seed.
That's disrespect. When he was the 2 seed and not even being a finalist. So this year he gets his revenge.
Gosh, I feel like my entire list was taken. Like I'm sitting there, while I'm laughing, listening to both you guys. Both you guys. I'm just like, these are exactly the same people that I'm picking for this. So before I found out that Embiid was just like, a bunch of these games I don't want to play. I had Embiid. I just really think he was going to try and take a step forward. But if he doesn't actually hit the games played threshold, which it sounds like he might not, I'm going to pick SGA. He had a super strong case last season. And I think this year, just with the other pieces around him, with the team being a little bit more developed, it's right there for him already. He just needs to grab it. My defensive player of the year, I've got to take Wemby. I know it's the easy pick. I know there are a bunch of other really good defensive specialists in the NBA, but he was playing at, just a ridiculous level defensively and offensively for that matter. I mean, he's an alien. Truly, he's an alien. My rookie of the year is also Zach Edey. And for me, the biggest thing with him is I was looking around at where other rookies are probably going to end up not getting as many minutes because Edey is already essentially being installed as the starter for that team. He's going to be just out there on the court a lot more. And of course, all of these are, we're all saying this, all barring, any potential injuries. We see these bigger guys get into the league and end up getting dinged up during the season. I just think the potential, especially the lob potential between John and Zach Edey should just be immediate point generation between those two. It's crazy. Most improved, I also chose Emmanuel Quickly. I just remember watching him with the Knicks and then him being an absolute just spark plug off the bench. It seemed like anytime he was on the court, there was immediate energy, immediate, like a level of urgency that wasn't there when he's not on the court. And now that he's getting a full season of run as the starting point guard there in Toronto, getting more, comfortable in that system that they're running. We already know he's a good player. I think this is going to be one of those times where he really just takes off for this award, which can we also just say that the most improved award is really strange how they give it out. Like it's very rarely like a player that goes from not so great to really good or even average, it's always like, we already know this player is going to be really good and is already solid. They just like took to their potential. Like Ja Morant won a most improved, Tyrese Maxey won a most improved. We're all sitting there looking at it like, we know they're good players anyway. Like, they didn't get much more, a whole lot better than we thought they were going to be anyway. We know it's going to happen. It's just a weird award. Sixth man, I also chose Dante DiVincenzo. I think last season we saw it. I mean, off the bench, he can be a 40% three shooter. And that's kind of exactly, I mean, if he can continue that pace on a team that's very likely going to be in the playoffs again, and that is if Naz Reid gets more of those minutes, I think it's going to end up being a pretty easy pick. But I love the Buddy pick. That's Justin. I thought about that. I was like, yeah, no, that's huge. That's if he ends up not getting starting minutes, because, and we've even seen it in a couple years past where a player will come off the bench for the majority of the season, somebody gets hurt, or they end up playing just too many minutes off the bench and they don't get the award because they're no longer a sixth man. They're like a 5.5. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's just silly. But it's certainly possible, especially with, it's not exactly a young Warriors team. And like you guys both said, for the coach of the year, it just makes sense right now for Taylor Jenkins to be in line for that award. Going from a team that was, how many games under 500 last season due to injury, getting all the players back, it's almost, pre-made for, excuse me, for a coach like that to be in line for that award.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my picks are the same as you guys, but I do have a couple surprises here. But MVP, I got to go SGA because, hey, he's going to have the Caruso feeding him now, feeding him assists. He's already on, the top team. These number one seeds who have a star player. Those are the type of teams and players who win MVP, So I think that's a slam dunk there. Defensive player of the year, I got to go Wemby. I've seen this guy play in person. It's amazing to see how much taller he is than AD on the court. And to see him with that talent level. Like all those skills, I mean, it should be outlawed because how do you stop this guy? You can't, and he's going to be getting blocks like crazy, And then most improved, I'm gonna go with a different pick. I'm gonna go RJ Barrett with the Raptors. I think he's got the talent, and obviously with a team like the Raptors, he's going to be getting a lot of time there. So, let's see what he does there. Yeah, rookie of the year, surprise homer pick, Dalton Connect, and because it's just a question of if he gets enough minutes, because I think the talent is there. The talent is there, and honestly, they're going to need him if they want to make a push. They're going to need Connect in the shooting that he has. That Lakers team has needed more shooting, and hey, who better to give it to him than Connect for? And let's see, sixth man of the year. I'm going DiVincenzo. Like you guys said, I mean, we saw what he can do. Such an important piece, and if he's coming off the bench, we've seen it. And coach of the year, I'm going to go a little bit different here. I'm going to go Ime Udoka with the Rockets because I think they do make a leap forward, and I think he's going to be the reason why. So, yeah, those are my picks. So how are you guys feeling about the season overall right now?
I'm excited. A lot of good teams.
Yeah.
A lot of young teams that are, like really good, like the Rockets and Spurs. So I'm excited to see those teams.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot. I don't want to say a lot more parity, but a lot of these teams that have been kind of traditionally like some of the bottom feeders. Like I think Detroit is going to be a very difficult out. The Magic, I think we're all kind of in agreement. They're going to take a bit of a step forward. Even the like you said, the Rockets and the Spurs, all these young teams are really going to make this a lot more difficult for some of these front runners to put up these win totals. So I'm excited. I think this will be a fun year. A lot of fun basketball to watch.
I'm excited for one thing: defending our play-in championship, baby. I'm sorry, our in-season tournament championship.
Oh, I forgot about the in-season tournament.
yeah,
oh my god!
Got to defend our in-season tournament champions and stay
Like-
as the only in-season tournament champions of all time.
Genuine question. What do you guys think about that? Like, it's such a gimmick, isn't it? Like, it just feels kind of gimmicky for no reason to me.
It is, but I think it worked. Like the ratings went up. You know,
Really?
More basketball and got people to watch more basketball in November, or whatever it was. November.
Yeah, at a time people typically aren't watching it. It did boost the ratings. So.
The saying used to be that the NBA didn't start until Christmas Day. You know, that was the old saying. So they're trying to change that now, and they got a little bit more exciting last year. Like we all play fantasy anyway, so we're already ready to go.
Like
for like the casual fan, they're kind of just waiting around until Christmas, and it's like that play-in gets them going a little bit earlier. Hey,
or if it brought eyes to the game, you know, more power to them. I just was watching them. I'm like, cool. The court is different. They're wearing different jerseys. It's still just I'm watching basketball.
Honestly, as Lakers fans, it's all we had to look forward to.
I don't think we're going to get so much for winning it, but I don't think that was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be such a bad thing for winning it, like get clowned on for winning a tournament. But
I didn't think it was a bad.
They're going to clown on us no matter what. So that's very true. Very true. That's how it is, though. You win for so long, you get so many haters, and then now is their chance. They know they gotta be haters while they can, because it's not like the Lakers are staying down forever. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they fit Connect into this lineup, because you got Rui, LeBron, AD in the front, and then
they just paid Christie like what was it, $8 to $10 million a year or something. They paid Max Christie, so they're going to give him minutes. Yeah. And
I think Christie could develop into something special.
Redick doesn't want to have a huge lineup. He said I think it was like nine people, nine-man rotation. So
yeah.
Well, that's good because we don't have much depth after 9 guys. So.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they clear Christian Coloco. That'd be big for the Lakers. Christian Wood's not there, so if Coloco can come back after missing all last year with that heart issue, he was like one of those up there top 5 in the league in blocks per minute guys. So,
but then what happened with Jackson Hayes? I feel like
there. He played minutes in the season a couple games ago. I saw him out there.
Yeah,
it just.
Yeah, the big question mark is Vando. Is Vando going to be healthy? Because,
if Vando's healthy, he's just such a lockdown defender. He can guard guys in so many different spots in it. But who knows when he's healthy? And it's feet issues now, and he had surgery on both feet in the offseason. And it's like, oh my! After a whole missed season, basically, you're like over here having both foot surgeries. I'm basically
of like Jaden McDaniels, but obviously off the bench for the Lakers. But he can lock down anyone really in the league, so he'd be a big addition. Obviously, it's just I don't know. He hasn't played, and when he played, he got injured a couple games later, so he just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I think they're planning to give this team like 30 games, before the trading deadline, 40 games, whatever it is, and then start. They have a lot of options to be able to make moves at the deadline and bring back Vanderbilt and
even the deadline. Like unless you move Bulow, let's say, how much, like, who else can
You
you
don't get moved in unless he starts playing well for us. Which either way, if he plays well, and that's good for us. If not,
Right.
he's an expiring contract that somebody's going to be able to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you know what. That's one other thing with this season that I'm kind of interested to see how it goes is the trade deadline. Typically, the NBA has like a big flurry of a lot of moves at the deadline. With the new CBA kicking in next season and with the new contract rules and the aprons, I'm curious to see what teams are able to do, and what they decide to do, because it's like typically like with D'Lo would be a rental, a legit, okay, he's a free agent after this season, whether we keep him or not, we can use him, for the rest of this season. It seems like the last couple of years, some of these younger teams have been trying to pick up other young talent at the deadline, whether they're on an expiring contract or not.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how the apron system works out with that, because if you're taking on all these contracts, shoot, you might not be able to even trade other draft picks for a couple years. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, when there's it's less likely that people are going to want to bring in contracts, more likely to move out contracts. So that means that there's more sellers than there is buyers, which will be good for the Lakers.
Well, we've already heard Pelinka complaining about these new apron rules. Even last year, he was saying, "Oh, the Lakers are going to be, tied up because of these." But we'll see.
Yeah, they've already got two max players, don't they? Do they count LeBron as a max contract currently?
Lakers have been preparing for the aprons, and Lakers, because they want to start becoming more of a developmental team. So if they want to be able to do that, that goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say much for the Knicks on that one. I mean, they're capped out.
All in right now. They don't even need to develop anybody.
No, they're just like, if we can get close, if we can get anything, we'll take it. I still think it was insane that Brunson took $100 million less on that contract.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I love him for it, but still insane. It's still crazy.
It is, but it's so good to see the Knicks back again for the league.
Yeah.
It is. It is. One of the few teams in the league I don't hate, so
I'll take it. That's a win for me.
Yeah.
I mean, at least we all agree we all hate the Celtics.
Yeah. No, I've actually been to a game in in the Garden for
Really?
the Knicks, and it's the atmosphere is second to none, man. Like, yeah, I love Staples Center, but hearing what these guys in New York are shouting out, it just had me busting up.
I went to Madison Square Garden, but I didn't see the Knicks. I went when Kemba Walker was on his run for the Big East.
The Big East tournament, yeah.
Play, at Madison Square Garden, so that was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've been there once. I think it was against the Bucks. They played a couple of weeks before Christmas Day, and just the crowd was insane. Just the energy in that stadium was insane. Just nonstop. They were making noise on their feet. Even when they were down, they were just on their feet constantly. It's a crazy energy in there.
Yeah.
Sadly, never been. I've seen the Knicks here in Memphis a couple times at the FedEx Forum, which for a playoff game, Memphis gets crazy, guys. Like it's insane, especially for playoff games. But it's a cool atmosphere around here. But love to make it up there sometime. It's not always an easy trip. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Also, those tickets just keep getting more expensive. Every time I look, I'm like, oh my god, I don't.
I mean, I think here in LA, like every team, just tickets have gotten expensive. Even the Chargers, Dodgers, especially now the Dodgers are going through the World Series soon. It's just crazy, the ticket prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it's everything. Like even college ball is getting ridiculous, be it basketball or football. It's insane.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Clippers might have to give away tickets though.
I completely forgot they were even getting a new stadium. I'm not gonna lie, I want to see this.
I want to go to the new stadium.
Their prices have gone up too. Because I was looking at like Clippers, I think it was Timberwolves or something, and it was like $85 starting price. It used to be like $7. So They got to pay for that stadium somehow.
Yeah.
This thing looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the same lot as the Rams Stadium.
Oh, it's over that way.
Yeah, I always see it going to the Charger games. So yeah.
It's in
pretty
Inglewood,
cool.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Huh. That's it all like from the outside, it almost looks kind of like a soccer stadium. Like the weird like dome, like but like rounded outside type of deal.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that they might not make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
With all those injuries, I mean, I don't see. Yeah, I don't see it without Kawhi.
Yeah, I don't see it. Whenever they said Kawhi like isn't playing for however long, I'm like, okay, don't have to talk about the Clippers anymore.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Just
There are like guys off the bench, like Kevin Porter Jr. I think he's going to do pretty well this year. And then Kai Jones, he looked good during the preseason too. So there are guys off the bench that they can rely on, but just that starting unit, there isn't much there. Besides Zubats and Harden, there just isn't much.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
see how much magic Ty Lue can work. Man. He's a good coach, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough test. Say that much. Tough test for them.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys. Well, hey, everybody, remember to like and subscribe, and yeah, maybe in the future we'll do some live shows here. Who knows?
Yeah. Once the
Yeah,
season starts and is underway, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but hey, pleasure doing this with all you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to us.
All right.
Yep.
See you.